What if you could do amazing arrangements of your favorite songs where you put your own spin on them? I must say, I'm not a person who loves note for note covers, so I always want to reach in and pull out something that is in the song, but not necessarily in the original rendition of the song. We'll talk about that today. Hi everybody, my name is Reed Robbins. I am a person who loves to arrange music. I play guitar and piano, and I've done multiple arrangements of different things on both. I have, for example, an album called Songs of Jimi Hendrix for solo jazz piano. And on that album, I'm doing Hendrix songs on solo piano. It's weird. But there's so many things in those Hendrix songs. Why? Because he's a great guitarist. I mean, he's great. I actually saw Jimi Hendrix when I was a child. And that was like, that's why you're dealing with me right now, is because I saw Jimi Hendrix, because, it was incredible. But he's also a great composer. And there's so much in those compositions that you can do something totally different with them. And they're still wonderful because the compositions are so amazing. First off, let's talk about a vision, right? I think that it's a good idea to have a vision of what it is you want to do with the song. And that means looking at the song very carefully, figuring out what needs to be there, what doesn't need to be there, and what elements are maybe available that you're not going for right now. For example, in the Jimi Hendrix song Fire, I took the first part of it and made it into a Latin groove. Now, I'm not an expert on Latin grooves, so it may not be the most amazing Latin groove you ever heard, but, it just occurred to me that Fire, it's tango, it's samba, it's all those kinds of stuff that you find in Latin music. I did that, and then I decided I would approach it like Green Dolphin Street. The A section is Latin, and then the B section is a swinged section. So I did that, and in a way sort of brought out the genius of the writer of Green Dolphin Street, and basically leaned on that person to come up with something that would be good for Fire. So you can do stuff like that. Okay, here you go. I Saw Her Standing There, right, the Beatles. What would Tom Waits do with that song? I mean, you don't have to, the Beatles already have a version of I Saw Her Standing There. You don't have to do the Beatles version. You could do a Tom Waits version. After vision is the feel of a song. So a song doesn't necessarily need to feel the way it felt in the original version, right? You can make a ballad out of something that was fast. You can make something fast out of something that was slow. I once did a punk version for a play of Some Enchanted Evening. And I don't know if you know that, but it's from an old Broadway show, South Pacific, and it's sung by an opera singer who they got to come in and do this Broadway show. So it's wonderful, but it's a little corny, So I just thought, what a great idea to take this and make a punk song out of it. And it really worked good in the context that it was in. So the next point, don't be afraid to transpose the song, right? Don't sing a song too high. One of the reasons I was inspired to make this video is because I saw a friend's band, a person who is, in a band on the weekends, and they were doing I Saw Her Standing There, and which is why I was thinking about Tom Waits doing it. And when you go up to that, woo, right? This guy did not have that in his voice. So there's a couple ways to deal with it. One is to transpose it to a place where you could actually do it in your voice. The other is to get rid of it. Why not get rid of it? I mean, the Beatles did it. Sounds great, but you don't need to do the same thing. All right, another thing to watch out for is how well is the song known? Some songs are just known too well. You really should not be doing a song that is too well known. I mean, there's, you know, Freebird, I don't think so. I don't think it's a great song to do. But another thing is, do you love the song? Because I advise this basically with all repertoire. Like, if you don't love a song, a piece, whatever, don't do it. There's so much music out there. And part of putting your own original stamp on something is to do songs, material that you love, whether it's your own material or whether they're covers. Also, another thing, and you have to be honest, one has to be honest with oneself about this, is, do you have what it takes to pull this song off? For example, does this song require the energy of somebody in their 20s? Maybe it's not for you. Or maybe you're in your 20s and that's the only thing you can do. I constantly hear people, you know, I live on Broadway in Manhattan, and there's always people out there making noise and stuff like that. And I hear these people going, woo, you know, like, I can't even do it now, right? I can't woo. I just don't have it in me. I don't like wooing. I don't care about wooing. It's fine if somebody else wants to do it, but it's just not for me. So don't try and do something that's not for you, again, by doing it in the same way that the original artist did it. I mean, maybe you have a love for the song and you have a great way you could do it. Don't be too worried to go out on your own with that. Next off, what are the key elements of the song that need to remain as is? So if you go through the chords, right? It's true more in jazz than maybe rock, but there's still plenty of room in both genres and other genres to actually make changes in what the chords are. So if you hear, I don't know, New York State of Mind, there's a place where it goes 2/5 in the key of the 4 key, right? That is a very notable aspect of that song. So then the question becomes, would it be cool to take it out and do it some other way? Or is that the one thing that you need to keep? Maybe you want to change some other chords before then. Maybe you don't want to use so many different chords. It's a pretty active harmonic rhythm. You know, you can do anything you want, but you need to go through and just plot those points which are so landmark that you literally have to keep them in there. Or you want to keep them in there because to you, they are the song. Another thing is, find some aspects of the song that may be dormant. For example, gospel. So back to this Jimi Hendrix thing I did. Angel is one of his most famous songs, and certainly one of his most beautiful songs. That comes from gospel. And I used to study with this guy, Mike Longo. He studied with Oscar Peterson, and he was the music director for Dizzy Gillespie. And I studied with him for 8 years. He said one day to me, he said, come in with a song that's not a standard, because we've been studying Misty and stuff like that, and something modern. And so I took that to mean, you know, Jimi Hendrix song could do. So when I brought in Angel, he got all excited about it. It's in the key of E flat in this one section. It actually changes key in the middle of the song and then changes back and changes again, changes back. It's an amazing song. And so this particular section is kind of a turnaround, if you know what that is, and it goes B7, A flat 7, D flat 7, D7, E flat 7. So, and he said, wow, he said, this is a substitute for a 3-6-2-5-1. And I was just like, wow, that is so cool. You know, he said, I don't know whether Jimi Hendrix knew he was doing that or not, but I mean, you know, the theory behind it. But, you know, it's an amazing spot in the song. And ultimately I decided to keep it that way because, the other thing just sounded a little too milquetoast, whereas that particular chord progression is so hip, it's amazing. So, but then there were other things I added that were kind of from the gospel lexicon. And I don't mean like the more modern concept of gospel. I'm talking about church gospel, that kind of gospel you've heard before. And it really takes the song to a place that it was already going towards. But at the same time, it makes that song have a certain attitude that it doesn't completely have when Jimmy's doing it, because his voice is amazing, his guitar playing's amazing, and those things steal the show. But you can make the gospel part steal the show too. Now, the last thing I'm going to leave with on this is that Peter Schmidt and Brian Eno came up with an amazing thing, which you can find on the internet. It's called Oblique Strategies. And Oblique Strategies was originally a deck of cards, and it had all sorts of things. You would just turn it, when you got stuck, you would turn over a card, and whatever it said, you would consider that as a venue for how to move on. This is mostly for, well, this is for creative types. Peter Schmidt is a painter. So it would be things like, what wouldn't you do? That's a great question. 16th notes. Okay, good thought. Take something away. Like stuff like that. This is what are in these oblique strategies. So the last thing I would encourage here, and it's been kind of an ad hoc video, I know, I apologize, I'll do something better later, is to actually think in that way. Just, throw things on the ear. What can you do? What if this was only one chord? What if it were a million different chords, like a very fast harmonic rhythm, or, it's originally slow, could it be fast? If it's fast, could it be slow? If it's high, could it be low? If it's low, could it be high? All sorts of things like that. It had a vocal, maybe we won't have a vocal. Maybe we won't stop in the middle, like if there's a stop, what do you call it, a drop there, maybe we won't do that, who knows. So anyway, these are some thoughts brought on by hearing someone's cover and kind of wanting to be helpful about ways you might approach covers in your future musical endeavors. Thanks very much. You probably have some ideas. You could leave them in the comments, like, subscribe, and I'll see you real soon. Thanks a million.